First of all, my apologies that we missed one of the items in this whole thing, which is the team building activity, which is the formal one. Unfortunately, we have this room only for another half an hour or 45 minutes, and we have, so sorry about that. I want to first of all say that thank you for coming. I think everybody has put in a lot of effort, and as Daniel also mentioned, we started the SIGM preparation since June of this year. And it takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of thinking what we want to discuss, what is the topics, what are the presentations that we need to go through, what is the materials that has to go through, and what is the message that we want to get out of it, right? And as you saw, it was mainly focusing on the common platforms, bringing that awareness of what is being done in every country, every divisions, right? And how we needed to act more like a global company, which we are already doing very well, and continuing to do the same, right? So first, before I start speaking about what I wanted to communicate with you, and what I want you to take away from this meeting, I want to start saying thanks to a lot of people who has made this particular event happen, right? I want to thank my IT management team, who has spent a lot of time with me on every week and every 2 weeks, creating agendas, changing agendas, planning things, and all those things that it takes to make something like this happen. Reviewing the presentations, making sure the demos are getting done. Even in the last minute, since my 2 weeks early visit in Israel, where they had to do the UI UX changes for the B2B platforms and all that, a lot of work is done into it, right? Making sure the demo sites are getting ready so that people can see what we do and get excited on what we as a team can achieve in the last 10 months since our last SIGM, right? I've been with Celdax for 2 years and 8 months. Okay. I'm not a long employee of Celdax, but when I started, we had a Celdax Direct and an AWS system, and we are close to 60 employees. And today, we are close to more than 40 solutions. We have at least 5 to 6 products that we're selling, that we're commercialized. And more importantly, we are close to 300 people that I depend every day in critical teams, right? And this journey is not my journey. This journey is the journey of this team, right? What we come through. And I'm sure before the next SIGM, we're going to be stronger and we'll have a common platform which is more mature and everything, right? So, going back to my thank you part, I want to thank each one of you and the people that is putting every day the efforts. People who are spending time, almost 16 hours, 18 hours, taking care of the pressure from the customer, the pressure from me, and making sure that supporting the sales and the marketing, everything. It's tough. The only thing I would say is that bear with me for 1 more year. And I'm sure by that time you'll have a customer support, you'll have all the demo things, you'll have the common platforms, and quite a lot more things which will make our lives a little bit more easy. Journey is going to be tough because you're trying to get 185 customers next year in multiple markets. That's not an easy target. You're trying to get multiple products into go-to-market, right? It's not easy. It's tough, and I know that. And I know that when I signed up for this. And I hope you know that when you sign up for this too. Yeah? So, I think the last 3 days, we had a great event. And I know that we had multiple people helping us. I think one of the people that was helping us was your travels was Seema out of Israel, right? She's been helping with us. And I wanted to thank her. She's not here personally, but somebody from Israel, please come. I have a small gift for her to take it. All right?
First you represent Gary now.
And I'm sure. He's not running away with it. And of course, from US and Canada, we had a lot of help is being done by Stephanie Sanchez, and she helped all the travels and everything for working with us on those things, right? And I do have a small gift for her also. Maybe Raji, you can come up and take it. Okay. This is for Stephanie, and this is Stephanie. Of course, we got to thank Becky, right? She has done an amazing job. Since June, she's been in every meetings, every part of the preparations, and I have to say that the whole event has gone incredibly well. I have not heard any complaints except for kosher food.
No, even though it was good.
It was good? Okay.
By the way, I can tell you, last year it was not managed by her. It was managed by somebody else. But the bottom line, I can tell you, last year I had a lot of remark. This year I had 0.
No, and it's amazing.
Very good.
She did it herself, with no help. You know? I mean, Toon helped, and I'm sure Fung and everybody pitched in, but she managed it, and more importantly, we are much...
And still under budget.
Exactly, I was going to say, we are much below the budget, and that's an amazing thing, you know?
Last year we were at $20,000 more budget, and we were only 9 people more, or 8 people more.
Yeah. And this year, we are actually, I think, $8,000 or $9,000 below budget, when everything's said and done, which is a great thing. Becky? Just want to make sure. All right. See, all this is possible not because of us, right? We work towards it. But I think the person who gives me the leadership and the direction and the focus is my boss, right?
By the way, this is not the way. You don't have to thank me for something that I do, by the way, for all of us. And I appreciate the nice gestures.
No, but I have to say what I have to say, right? What's in my mind, that's my job. He's a very busy person. But you would see that he has come here for 3 days. He's participated, not just sitting and listening to us. He's very involved, right? He's giving us his message, he's telling us what is expected and all that, right? That shows us how critical is Cellnet Technology Services is for the growth of Cellnet. Very important, right? And I personally, and as a team, want to thank you for all your efforts and the support there.
You know what? I appreciate for the nice gift. But I want to say something. You know what? When I started, by the way, this division, it was only for one reason. I believe that taking supply chain to technology, this is what really can change the world. And you know what? I was looking for leadership to take this division to the next level. And you know what? You can try to do everything by yourself, but you know what? You only can be as good as your team is. And I think I want to thank Chacko for his, I don't know if they did an award for you or not. Okay, there's not a box on this thing? I don't know. That's okay. I'll give you mine. But I want to thank you specifically for bringing the team to an incredible job, to what it is today and to the next level. I really have no words to thank you to take my little dream to something that's possible. Thank you.
So, now I want to talk about what I wanted to speak to you about as my message. Right? Please bear with me for 15 minutes. It's on 25 slides. I know it's not as dealt by PowerPoint, but the reason I made it as a PowerPoint, and I spent a lot of time, 2 days from 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, working on it. Because this is, you know that we all know that about the SI. We are always limited, or we are always told that this is correct and that is not correct. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Press the wrong button. As we grow in our lives, as you know, learning is a continuous process. Some people choose the way of continuing to learn. And as we grow older, some people choose not to continue learning, which leads into stagnation. We get put in a box of what we know as absolutes, what we know as the shoulds and the would should be, right? When we limit ourselves to what we know, we limit ourselves to the absolutes and the perceptions that we have. Because that's what has been told to us all our lives, from our systems and what we went through as being adults, right? I want you to start thinking about embracing the unknown, the power of the unknown. I'm sure many of you people probably have gone through and heard about the power of unknown. It is very much releasing your imagination to the next level. I want to give you 3 items in your toolbox when you go away from it. And I'm going to go through each of these items and I'm going to explain how this is going to help you to be more creative and more innovative and take you to the next level in the journey with self-doubt or outside. Naivete, curiosity, and daydream. These are the 3 key magic words that can change your life. When you're a child, we don't know anything better. We are always sitting and thinking about and looking at no limitations on what we are able to do. Because we always continue to say, why can't I touch this? Why can't I do this? Unless somebody slaps on our wrist and says, no, you cannot do that, right? So until we get slapped on our fist, we continue to explore, we continue to look at some of the things that we are able to do that, right? Having a toddler's mindset is very important for our growth, right? So let's look at the first one, naivete. It's a word that is originated from French, right? And in English they call it naive, right? And it says, if you look at the dictionary, it will say, lack of experience, wisdom, or judgment. That is the unknown part, right? Because we don't know what to expect, because we have no experience. Our lives and if we are all engineers, or most of us are engineers, right, or 90%, right? When we become engineers, what do we learn? We've been told about the experimental facts, and we believe in the experimental facts that they learn. And that's what drives all our decision-making processes. And knowing something that is not coming from our experience is very powerful. And people look at sometimes and say, you have no experience in doing something like this. And people think that is very negative. It's absolutely not negative. The lack of experience and judgment is not at all negative. Not knowing that you cannot do something is an incredible asset. Because number 1, you know what your limits are. Number 2, you know where to jump. You know when not to jump, right? So turning a negative that you think that lack of experience into a positive is something that is very critical. I want to introduce you to a lady by name Amy Mullins. I have met her 4 times in the last 10 or 11 years. And one time I had the opportunity to actually speak to her 15 minutes, one-on-one. And there's an incredible story that she told. Just to give her a background, she is an athlete. She has many world records under her name. She is a model, and she acted in many TV serials like Stranger Things and everything. And more importantly, she also, in so many, in so many associations that is for empowerment of women, and done so many speeches, worked with Hillary Clinton on so many initiatives and all that, right? She's from Allentown, Pennsylvania. I'm going to just show the picture and I'm going to talk what she is. When she was doing her school. Sorry, I will say it slightly different. Give me a second. She is a double amputee. That means that she's got no leg behind her knees. Okay. And when I was talking to her personally one day, she said, Chacko, the biggest advantage that I had when I was a double amputee when I was in school, because she used to play all the sports. And she said every time she came running to the baseball base, the girls that is standing there would always move out. Why? Because she had wooden legs, and nobody wanted to get hit by the wooden legs and get hurt. So she said, it's a disadvantage advantage of mine, but what I did is that I used it to my advantage. I turned my negative into the positive piece that is there. Right? She went on to study in Washington, D.C. in her college, and one day one of the sports counselors came to her and said, why don't we go and attend the athlete meet that is happening in Boston for the handicapped or disabled people. So she's like, I don't do it, I never done it. Why don't you join the 100-meter run? And I said, okay. And she started joking, saying that I don't know what 100 meter is, because I've never done it. And she said, anyway, I'm going to try it. She went to Boston. Before she was going to Boston, she never had done any sprints or any running. She only did practice for 1 week, and the farthest that she can do was 80 meters, and she was done with it. Okay. She went there, she has no training, no coaching, nothing. The only thought that she had is that she has to run as fast as possible and hit the 100 meters. So she didn't drink caffeine for a couple of days, and in the morning she drank a lot of coffee and caffeine so that she's got all the power that she wants. She gets on the track, and she saw a coach that is telling everybody else how to run. So she went and said, do you have any final advice for me? And the guy looked at her and said, really? Now you want final advice? This is the wrong time. And she said, if you have any strength left in you before when you reach the finish line, that means you have not done a good run. If you still have energy left, when you reach the finish line, that means that you didn't run well. Okay? And it's very important point to remember. This happens in our lives. She started the race, she ran like crazy, and believe it or not, that's the first time that she's ever competing. She beat the national champions for 100 or 100 milliseconds of it. And the way she told us is that her nose was a little bit further out than the knee of the second person. That was the only difference, but she got the award. Right? She was very excited, and she came out and she's like, oh God, I made an award, that's good. What else can I do? Right? So she saw that in the afternoon, there was a long jump. So she went to say, I want to be in the long jump. And they said, there's no long jump for women. And she said, exactly, that's why I want to do it, because now I can take 2 awards home, because I will be the only competitor, and I can take two home, right? So the afternoon, she went to do the long jump with 8 men. It's a very interesting story, please bear with me, and we will go through this, what it is. And they started jumping, she finished 2 jumps. And a guy in baggy clothes started walking to her, and he said like, okay, God knows what kind of method that you have under your clothes. He came to me and said, Amy, you are a BK. And she's like, what is BK? Oh, you're below the knee amputee, double amputee, And why are you standing here? I'm doing the long jump. You're not supposed to do it. And she's like, what do you mean? I already jumped twice. You are not supposed to be able to jump the long jump without 2 legs. I did it already twice. And why you say I cannot do it? Very simple. Because to do the long jump, you got to run up to the white line, you got to put your pressure on your one leg, and then you need to jump. You don't have one leg to put the pressure to do the jumping. Right? She said, I've done it twice, I'm going to do the 3rd time, and she did the 3rd time. She was the winner, of course, but within less than 1 year, she broke the world record. Okay? Now, the interesting fact on this is, when she went for the race, everybody else that was doing the race had a real nice carbon legs and everything, and this is what she had. The lesson that she wanted to communicate and that was telling was, if she had any experience, if she was judgmental, if she knew that, oh, I cannot do it because I don't have a leg, right? She went there with a very open mind, without knowing anything, and her lack of experience and her lack of judgment was the key for her success, right? The next piece that she told me, and that's her, right? Amy Williams. So now she got the world record. The next thing she wanted to do was that she wanted to be the fastest sprinter. And she knew that she couldn't do it with her wooden legs. So one of the things that she did is, she started going and talking to people who make the artificial limbs. So for anybody who makes an artificial limb, one of the key things is, their job is to get the missing piece as close as to the real piece, right? So if you are missing one arm, you want to get to the same thing in weight, symmetry, shape, and all those kind of things, so that they don't lose the balance. Guess what she has got? She doesn't have anything to compare. Every time she went to talk to the doctors, they couldn't figure it out. It became a big challenge, and she went on for a year. And she brought this issue to when she was talking to one of the colleagues in MIT. It took an engineer, not a medical person, it took an engineer to think outside the box to come out with this type of legs, which is still the best standard for the para-Olympic people with amputee leg, right? But how did that thought start? And that's very important. She had a very simple idea. What do I want to do? I want to be fast. If I want to be the fastest thing, why am I not looking at the fastest thing that runs on the earth? It's a cheetah. Why do I need to look at what I have, what I don't have? I look outside the box and I look and say, that's a cheetah. If I do my legs the same way as a cheetah is doing it, that's what I can do. And that's what they did. Not a medical professional who did it, but an engineer, right? And I want to relate here what Daniel always comes and does, and he has many times has told us in many meetings where, I don't remember the exact company, but he says, I think in HP or something, where he mentions that every time there's a problem.
No, it's Intel.
Intel, sorry, yeah. Every time there's a problem, they bring people who is not working on the project, they bring somebody from outside and they come and they look at it and they see things differently, right? And that's what we need to do, look at things very differently. I'm sure we all have kids and we see the toddlers, they get up and they try to walk, right? And they fall. They do not look at it from impossibilities. They just haven't figured it out. They don't look at it and say, this is not impossible for me. I just have to figure it out, and they will figure it out. It's on. And if you think we call this as resilience, no, it is not. It is just rooted in the same concept of naivety as they do lack of knowledge, the wisdom and the experience and the judgment. Right? They do not see falling down as a failure. And I'm sure everybody says, we have heard that if you fail and if you don't learn from the failure, it's a mistake. But they don't. They try to keep improving and they don't look at what is around them, because for them, nothing is impossible in front of their eyes, right? So sometimes we, as we grow into our adulthood, it is very important for us to have sometimes a toddler's mindset. When you face challenges, you use naivety to solve it, right? And I can tell you so many examples. I can give a good example quickly, right? OCR. When I came to DAG, I said, OCR is like, oh, we cannot do it. You know, we don't have the library, we don't have this. But I have a customer that is already willing to pay, and I signed the contract. I need this, right? You're always put in fire. You're always put into situations where you need to come out with something that is there. There's no experience there, right? It is not the pressure or the technical knowledge of him that is making him to do that. It is the lack of experience that is driving him to come out with the innovations and the ideas that is necessary for us to move forward, right? We come out of our comfort zone and we unconsciously depend on naivety. And naivety is not something that we need to depend on unconsciously. It is something that you can develop and that you can use on a regular basis, right? Every invention, every innovation that has happened in the world has started with naivety. Because people always think outside the box. They are not judgmental. They don't look at it and say, if I do something, what is going to happen and what is going to happen. There is no judgment there, right? There is no knowledge. If there's already knowledge, then you're already biased in thinking of, your thinking is already biased, and you don't have that. Releasing ourselves from emotional and experimental and historical baggage, which is the experience part of it, what should be and what is always, it all allows us to be open and always we are confronted with surprises, right? You'll be always be surprised with the outcome that you get out of it. Naivete and curiosity is the second tool that you have in your toolbox. Sorry, it is taking a little time, but I hope I can get your message across. It's actually two sides of the same coin, where naivete is the passive side of the coin, where you're actually playing your slave, which means that there is nothing in front of me, there is nothing that I have to consider. I have to start everything from scratch. I don't have no experience or judgment in front of me, right? And the active side, which makes you to go hunt, which is the curiosity, right? Because I'm curious, I want to go and find out what it is, right? And that is a hunting mechanism that is out there. Every time a salesperson is picking up the phone and calling him, that is a curiosity of what is going to be on the other side of the phone and how it is going to react. That is what is going to make him to go and hunt, right? Curiosity is the pursuit for the unknown with vigorous appetite for discovery. If people first discovered the new lands, if they were not curious, to get on a ship and travel, it wouldn't happen, right? In many cases, it is better to jump, and I'm sure you agree with me, into a situation than solve the issue and be creative. It is better to do something rather than thinking about it, right? We spend a lot of time, should I do it, should I not do it, should I do it, should I not do it, right? Start it, because that is the curiosity of your mind that gets you to do what you wanted to do. Just start something is using the curiosity as an active tool to learn and discover. So don't limit yourself. You need to look outside, right? If you're not curious, you'll become an echo chamber with your own thoughts and limitations. The reason I'm going through this is because I want to put it on the website, right? You know what's an echo chamber? Because stand there and you say, all you hear is what you say, nothing else. And you don't want to be doing that. We are in a time where everything that we do is controlled by social media, right? They tell you what to listen to. They tell you what to read. They tell you always what videos you should watch and what genre of music that you should do because you did play something else, and they think that's the playlist that you wanted to do, right? When everything that is in front of you, it is created automatically for you, right? But there's a huge issue with it because now we are getting trained into a method where all the social media is mentally changing our way of thinking. We stop being curious. We stop being looking at life in a different way. I remember many years ago, before Netflix and everything came on, we used to go to the video store and then they had all the videos that is lined up, and we start, you say action, comedy, this thing, nothing more, right? And then we start reviewing for each one of them, and You sometimes say, hey, let me just watch this and go. But now, if you have Netflix and things like that, Netflix will tell you what you should watch. And you get geared towards what you want to do. When you are curious, it's not a good mind. The effect on the curiosity is pretty big, right? It will shake you up. It will shake you up from the core and shakes you from the regular habits because you're being pushed outside your comfort zone, right? And it pushes you out and creates you the new ideas and thoughts that you want. It advances you from your mental and physical and emotional comfort zones, right? You're not tied to it. So practicing curiosity, looking beyond the horizon of what you know and what is your vision is not something that should be an accident. It should be a habit. It should be done like you do your exercise or you brush your teeth every day. I'm sure you know this. Everybody likes to be in the comfort zone. I'll give you a good example. Sorry, Raji, I'm going to pick you on this. She's been in the company for 3 years. 2 years, she worked for Jonathan Sapp. She would sit and work on AWS from morning to evening. Right? She had to be challenged to take over the whole project of the PMS and push herself outside her comfort zone. She never done it. She never worked with so many multiple countries, with multiple people. It was completely out of her scope, But she had to be pushed outside the comfort zone to be able to do that, right? But the moment you're in a comfort zone, that's where the learning stops. And that's where we get stifled with our thoughts and ideas that we have. I want you guys to take a leap of faith once in a while in your life to go outside your comfort zone, because that's where the action and that's where the life begins. And for me, I believe naivete and curiosity are the tools that we have to use now from a CellNet technology organization perspective. Because we are trying to change ourselves to the market needs. We are trying to change, looking at newer technologies. We are trying to keep an open mind. We don't go and go to a customer and say, this is all we can do. No, we don't. You want something else? We have no experience. We'll do it. We'll try to do that. What else do you need? That's the curiosity piece that comes in to the customer when you're talking to the customer, right? And this is what happens, right? And this is so important now to start practicing this on a regular basis. And you have these two things that you practice, you become creative. The creativity starts with naivete and curiosity, because that drives what you like to do and what is the ideas and the concept that you can build out of. Creativity requires the curiosity quest for surprise, and naivete, openness to the not knowing, that is the unknown. I'm sure you heard of IBM Watson and Google DeepMind. What do? They do data analysis, right? The information that is fed into that, they will do the algorithms and they'll give the AI and all those kind of things, and give you back the information that is needed. They work on the knowns. They work on the known facts. They work on their experience, what they have learned, right? But the humans, they're different. We are able to do work completely in a different way. They're limited to what that is being fed into them and the information that is going into them. I'd like to show you a quote from Nelson Mandela. Imagination created the illusion that my vision went much further than the naked eye could see. Please note the word imagination, right? When we are kids, when we are on a bus, when we are on a train, sometimes when we are kids, we have nothing, no stress, nothing going on. What are we doing? Our mind is free. Our mind is thinking about things that's impossible. I want to be a firefighter, I want to be a soldier, I want to be a pilot. We're thinking, and it's all free and open in our mind, right? And some people call it as daydreaming. And if you ask the professionals, they would say it is visualization. I'm sure you heard about the concept of visualization. They say if you keep visualizing things, then things will happen. And it's a very strong concept. You know, if you read the book called It's a Secret, that always talks about visualization. But visualization has a key important thing, because what it does is that it builds and opens up new neural paths in your brain. Right? I want you to take the journey on the magic carpet. Let your imaginations go. You don't know what you are able to do. You can never know the limit of your capabilities unless you do it and unless you're curious about it. Daydreaming is the bridge between imagination and creating something, right? And creativity, right? So, if we want to create something, we need to start imagining. We need to start imagining the impossible things that is out there, right? And in order to execute that, and in order to go from the imagination to creativity, what is that we have to do? We have to start thinking about daydreaming, right? People talk about planning your life, planning and designing your life. You know, I want to be able to do at 30 years, I want to be this. I want 40 years, I want to be do this. 55, I want to do this. 62 and a half, I want to retire. So many plannings that we do, right? All these things is all about daydreaming and making things happen, right? It is not something that has to be limited as a toddler, but something that has to be continued as an adult. And it has to be something that has to be exercised on a daily basis. The daydreaming part is very powerful because it allows you to see the path through the limitless possibilities of imagination. And that is when the unknown and the unreal possibilities takes shape in our heads. This is when things start working for us to be what we wanted to do, right? We talk about, does anybody know the mission statement, the vision of Zelda? There is a word called
technology-driven technology-driven
technology, right? And STS, our mission is, no, that's internal. Outside is innovative solutions, shared growth. Innovation, that's a key word for us, right? We should not just build things, we need to be innovative, right? And that's why every time we talk about the products, what is something that is more, right? Nama talks about it, and we have competitions, but QR code is not there. It's innovation, something that we're doing. When we're doing MTM or Celtex, the whole thing, that is innovation, right? And that can only happen when people like Daniel, who is the visionary, and who is sitting there and dreaming about what is the next thing that needs to happen. And he takes the daydreaming part of it and the imagination part of it, and then we have to make it into a creative product that has to go through it, right? This is a tool. I'm sure you know this, you know, when you're sitting at home, maybe when you're a child, or when you're sitting there, and you're sitting in a chair and you're sitting and thinking about something, your wife or your husband will come and say, what are you doing? What are you thinking? What the hell are you thinking? Right? People don't realize that people sometimes look at it, what, you're doing daydreaming? It has got a negative connotation to it. But it is not. It's a tool that needs to be practiced and something that is to be used for us to take our imagination to the next level. Believe me, it is not, daydreaming is a choice and it's not an accident. It is not something that should happen when you're sitting in a car, all of a sudden, you have nothing to do and you just start thinking about it. It is something that you have to practice on a daily basis. If you are not thinking through it and if you're not using it as a choice that you wanted to do it, you're not making progress. You're stifled because you are not moving forward at all. And again, it has to be a habit and it has to be practiced. So, I want you to live with my last slide and the message that I want you guys to take home. Right? We talked about naivete, how it can help you, lack of experience, lack of judgment, lack of knowledge of doing something. We talked about curiosity, how it can unleash the power of not knowing and your baggages that you have, that you brought with it. Right? And we talked about daydreaming or the imagination, which is very vital to be creative, to build, to be creative into products and any of the imagination that we have, right? I want you to unleash this power that you have. And when you do that, you have the inventions, you have the innovation, and you have the creativity that's going to come out. And with that, and more. Now you see why I tell you to dream. Because if you dream, it is limitless. There is no boundaries. There is nobody telling you what to do, what not to do. You can be a king, you can be a sultan, you can be a queen, you can be anything. You can be an astronaut, right? But once you dream, you can set goals. And once you have goals, they're just milestones that you need to do to reach your dream.